Okay, today is February 20th. Okay, it is 1:38 a.m. It's a Friday. So some this particular subject matter um, has been a great deal of concern for me in the past. Okay, the reason why it's a great concern is it concerns stop loss. Okay, it concerns stop loss, and it was difficult for me. It was difficult for me to fully comprehend its impact, the stop loss placement of in my trading. Okay, what I noticed is this though. If I don't, if see, I suppose it's like um, and I mentioned this way in the past. I've mentioned this for years and years and years. It's like walking on a tightrope, okay, strung together from the peaks of a very tall mountain. Okay, every trade is like that. Every trade is like that. Okay, it is possible though. It is possible though when I fall down. Okay, if I fall down on that tightrope, it is possible that the rope is actually um, slightly above, not all the way to the bottom, but it's slightly above, so that my fall would not be a big concern. So it's like, so the so the so essentially the stop loss. Essentially, when I enter into the trade, it is essentially like scaling. It is scaling like Mount Everest. That's what it's like. It is scaling Mount Everest. Uh, it is essentially walking from Mount Kilimanjaro to the Himalayan peak, okay, using a tightrope. Okay, that's what it's like. Okay, trading is like walking on a tightrope between Mount Everest and Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, that's what it's like. That's what it's like. Okay, so UC is exhibiting some characteristics that is going to go down based on what I'm seeing here. It's right at the support area right now. So I thought about that, but the thing is, there could be something in between the distance of Mount Kilimanjaro and uh, Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Everest. There could be something there. So even if I fall off the tightrope, okay, even if I fall off the tightrope, the stop loss, the Earth geography will be close enough to that tightrope that it would not be such a big fall. Okay, it would not be a big fall. That's what a stop loss does. Okay, essentially that's what a stop loss does. But if the stop loss is not there, so it's like so the stop loss is essentially a it's essentially a magic rug. It's a magic rug. Okay, what is it? There's a story about the Aladdin. Okay, it's Aladdin. Aladdin is able to Aladdin is able to uh, ride the magic carpet. It's the magic carpet, right? It's the magic carpet. Aladdin is able to ride the magic carpet. Okay, so the magic carpet is essentially the stop loss. Okay, whereas I am trading is essentially walking on a tightrope between Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Everest. That's what trading is. And the terrain. So in the military terminology, there is something called terrain following. Okay, so apparently the Tomahawk missile has the capability of using the terrain in order to disguise itself until it reaches its target. So what it does is it goes into a terrain following mode. So it goes at a certain height on the topography of the Earth, and then gets there as it gets there, it's following the terrain. Okay, so that it keeps itself safer, okay, until it reaches its destination. So essentially, I haven't really thought about this until recently about what a stop loss does. Okay, stop loss is essentially a magic carpet. It's a magic carpet. Okay, where Aladdin rides it. Okay, Aladdin rides it because the magic carpet is essentially floating in space between the inevitability of a breach of whatever the count is, and then being near where the entry point of the price action is, right? Because what could happen is that it could just drop. It could just drop like a rock. And then the inevitability of the result of that is essentially ruining an account. If it's a live account, I mean, it would be, I mean, I've seen this before too, and it happens. And it has to be used. A stop loss has to be used because it protects, it protects. It may not happen. It may not happen on the first mile. It may not happen 200 meters, but it's going to happen if I'm not, because it's a sure thing. It will happen. Okay, that's why. See, it just never registered into my mind, because it's not. It's like it doesn't happen all the time. But one thing that's for sure is that it's going to happen. It will happen. Okay, it will happen. Okay, if I don't use the magic carpet, I have to use the magic carpet. Okay, this is something that I haven't really understood. Okay, it's okay. So now I'm looking at this situation, and this is a brand new perspective of life, really, about money too. Okay, um, because it's something that it just never registered into my mind. Because when I was working as an engineer, the money came in. It was enough for me to do something. It was enough for me to do something, and not having to worry about my future. But if I don't worry about my future and my savings, then what I can do is take every penny that I make and use it. Okay, because it'll keep me afloat. The only way for me to uh, be to succumb to any external impedance is essentially if I lost my job. And then I realized, hey, maybe I should have saved in between. Okay, that would have been the good thing to do. That would have been the smart thing to do. That's also the magic carpet. If I had this magic carpet, which is essentially is floating, like just like Aladdin was doing, floating uh, at a point where I entered. And if see, it's like losing my job. If I lose my job, I go right down to the floor where I have no income whatsoever, but I still have the obligations that I have to upkeep. Okay, so what savings and being meticulous about how I preserve myself by working hard, keeping myself safe, allows me to float above the ground where a loss of a job can be deterred. Okay, where loss of a job is deterred by working harder and also saving money for a rainy day. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, so 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 not every time, not every time when I take a trade, that is not going to ruin my account. Okay, one of those things will ruin my account, but not that specific one. It could be, but it doesn't. So in order for me, see, this is a concept that I never put so much emphasis on, because I would forget. I would take about 100 trades, and then maybe two or three out of those 100 trades would cause the account to be just completely eradicated. But I would not know. Okay, I would not know, because it doesn't happen every time. So for me, psychologically speaking, I felt comfortable walking on that tightrope. Okay, without a magic carpet underneath. Okay, the magic carpet is the stop loss. Okay, it is not a terrain following carpet. It is a carpet that follows. It follows the tightrope. Okay, The tightrope that is spanning between Kilimanjaro and Mount Everest, it spans, okay? It spans. And that span is essentially the entry point. The tightrope is the entry point, okay? That's what it is. And so there is price action that moves up and down between it. The progression is essentially when that price moves up and down. When it goes up, I'm making progress. But when it comes back, when it comes down and I exit the trade, I'm stepping back. Okay, so I'm looking at it. It's like I am walking on a tightrope. Okay, between a distance between Mount Kilimanjaro. It is a so essentially trading is essentially walking on a tightrope between Kilimanjaro and Everest. Essentially, that's what it is. And the support system is that magic carpet that's right underneath that entry point where I'm stepping on that rope that connects me from the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro to the summit of Mount Everest. Okay, so I'm walking there. Okay, and that is the cushion that keeps me safe. Okay, and that's why a lot of people talk about, well, I mean, you're 1,000 cuts when you trade and your stop loss is so close and your decision is incorrect. Of course, you're gonna lose. Okay, so the placement of the stop loss has to be at a point where the likelihood of breaching it is has to pass through that support, which is the magic carpet. The magic carpet, I would have to be at a well, okay. So when I put a magic carpet on there, it's virtually impossible to break through because that's where the stop loss is. It happens. It happens automatically. That's what the stop loss does. So it never occurred to me the importance of the stop loss, despite the fact that I've lost for the past 5 years due to that fact. Okay, due to that fact, it is a escalation of one trade after another trade, and it compounds it. And then when it gets to a point where it compounds and messes with my mind, it creates a havoc in my trading. Not just that day, but it carries over for days and days and days, weeks, and subsequently for years. Okay, so this is something that I was not able to nail it down. Okay, until now. Okay, until now, I'm getting a clearer picture. I'm getting a clearer picture of the significance, the significance of the usage of stop loss in trading. Okay, significance after 5 years. After 5 years, I'm seeing the significance, the role that it plays. Of course, if I don't have a stop loss, it could just drop just a couple feet, and I should be okay. It'll come back up, and it's not a problem. Only if it drops. Only if I know that's the case. Okay, so that's why I need to put a stop loss at a point where it says, okay, if this price moves beyond this point, then this trade is null and void. So that's the careful criteria in determining what a stop loss is. Okay. It just never occurred to me until at this point, and I'm figuring this thing out, because the stop loss is a critical component in trading, and I'm finally coming to the realization of I'm finally coming to the realization of the impact of placing a stop loss in my trading. Okay, that's that's the reality of the situation. Okay, so now now I see what role stop loss plays in my trading, whereas in the past it never occurred to me. Okay, it never occurred to me. Just like me being penniless. The reason that I'm penniless is because I didn't have that magic carpet. I didn't have that magic carpet that was keeping me afloat. It mimics life. And I did not have that magic carpet that I placed there just in case. Just in case. Okay? Stop loss is just in case. But when it's effective, in many of the instances, it'll be a burden. It's a burden. Okay? It's a burden. But at a certain point, it'll be a life-saving event. It does that. It happens. It's like being able to drive carefully all the time. When I drive carefully all the time, it allows me to avoid certain catastrophic events that could possibly alter the safety of my vehicle. Okay? But if I'm always so that it's essentially a magic carpet. It's a magic carpet. The stop loss is a magic carpet. It applies to everything. I had no idea. I had no idea. When I saw the folk tale, okay, it's essentially a folk tale. It's a children's story about this Aladdin, okay, who finds a genie and who rides a carpet, magic carpet that floats around, okay. The component of that story is the magic carpet, and that magic carpet is essentially so the genie is essentially is the progressive gains that I can get. Okay, but the magic carpet is the support system that allows me to survive throughout the rest of my life. Okay, and I never realized how that plays out in life. I never realized. It just never occurred to me. It's a discovery of life. Something through it's a discovery of life. I'm discovering life through trading. Okay? Through trading, I'm discovering life, about how life works and how things operate, which something that I had see now that I have an idea what trading is about. Every one of these videos are so important. It's a lesson. It's so important in life lessons, okay? It's so important, okay? It's so important. I just never realized it, but now it's so important. Okay, so to hit it, hopefully I can hit it out of the park with this conclusion about the stop loss. Stop loss is essentially a magic carpet, okay? It's a magic carpet that allows me to sustain myself throughout life, okay? Because having not one of the having not the so it's trading essentially. Boy, this is like this is wow. Wow, it's amazing how trading mimics life. It's amazing how I had no idea the correlation between. I had no idea. I suppose if I'm running a business is very similar to living life. Okay, that's wow. Okay, if I'm running a business, I have to wake up every day. I'm like I make money based on what I do that day. Okay, if I don't work that day, I don't make any money. That's being in my own business. Okay, that's very similar to like going for a corporate job and then working at a corporate job. If I don't work on a consistent basis, I could be fired. Okay, in fact, I know that I will be fired. Okay, if I am not consistent in the way that I'm performing my job, I will be fired. I know it. There's no doubt whatsoever. Okay, and so the stop loss essentially wrapped up in life is essentially performs the duty of it performs the duty of keeping me safe to continue to the next day. Even if I make a mistake, I only fall a certain amount where I can get back up. Okay? So if I were to look at this on a scale of walking on a tightrope between Kilimanjaro and Everest, is that if I lose money, then I'm taking my steps back. But if I'm winning, then I'm taking a forward step. And the idea is to go from Kilimanjaro to Everest, walking by. Okay, and then I have a. So when I look at this situation where, I mean, this is just fantastic. So what I'm looking at is that as it goes through, I'm there is a magic carpet that's floating around that stops. That is the stop loss. If I don't do that, then I have to go all the way back. The distance between Kilimanjaro and Everest is like the distance of two continents. Okay, the African continent, the continent of Africa, and then continent of Asia, right? And so essentially, that tightrope spans from Kilimanjaro to Everest and I have to walk through there. But if I fall and not place the stop loss, I got to go all the way back, all the way back, and I have to start all over again. Okay, that's what a stop loss does. Okay, I it's amazing to me that I never ever thought about it that way. Okay, I never thought about that way. This is very similar to the experience that I just had at Costco. Okay, so I became conscious that I am a homeless man and I live out of my car. Those are the two things that have been uh, embedded in my mind. Okay, I suppose that's the turning point. I suppose that's the turning point of life when something really sinks in that alters the path of my life. Okay, so the definition of a turning point is something happens in life that causes me to permanently alter the thinking that I have in my mind. Okay, that's what a turning point is, right? So in trading, the turning point for me is realizing the significance of the stop loss, because the stop loss is essentially is there to protect me. It is the 401k of life. Okay, it is the investments that I make. It is the investment I make in educating myself in order to keep my job on a daily basis, because education does not stop. So somebody was telling me this. Somebody on YouTube was telling me this. It's a lifelong learning journey. You have to keep learning. You have to keep learning. Okay? You have to keep evolving each and every day. You have to evolve each and every day. That's why you read the Bible over and over and over and over again, because your belief is being fine-tuned, chiseled, and then it is the same as polishing a copper mirror. Because if I don't polish the copper mirror every day, what it will do is it'll fade, it'll oxidize. Okay, oxidation will occur to cause the copper mirror to fade, and then its purpose is lost. Okay, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. I'm at this point now, understanding the significance of the stop loss. Okay, it's amazing to me after trading for the past 5 years, the significance and how foolish I was, not even knowing the significance of the stop loss. It just never occurred to me. I never expanded upon the concept of what a stop loss is. It just never occurred to me, even though it was essentially eradicating my account every once in a while. But every once in a while is enough to send me all the way back to Kilimanjaro instead of allowing me making progress towards Everest. That's why the stop loss is so important. It's so important. Okay, it's so important, because if one thing for sure is that when I make a trade, there will be at a time where I will be wrong, and I will be massively wrong. That means that because if I didn't set the stop loss, it's going to just drop all the way back and all the way back, and then it'll essentially erase any gains that I have, anything that I have, all the way back to ground zero. Okay, where the starting point is. And the idea, because whatever I have, it's amazing. Whatever I have, it's a one adding to another. One step forward, one step forward, one step forward. Okay, sure, the front foot will sometimes be on the back side, where I will take a backward step, just like today. I made 2 trades so far. It's currently 2 o'clock. The first one loss was about $10. The second one was about $30. So that's how it works. That's how trading works. But it's a forward progress, moving forward. And the stop loss saved me from losing more on that trade. Because if I kept that short and then didn't sell it, it would have just essentially been a catastrophic event. Okay, it would just ruin the whole day. But the stop loss stopped it immediately. Okay, it stopped it immediately. Okay, that's what's important about trading. Okay, it just I just finally realized the significance. The significance of the stop loss is essentially, if I were to describe it in real life of of characterization of what it is essentially a magic carpet. It's a carpet that floats right underneath that tightrope that spans from Kilimanjaro to Everest. Okay, why do these? Why do so? If I were to like, see, even professionals, they lose. Even professionals, they lose. Okay, they lose. They don't win all the time. So that means that they have to use a stop loss. Because at one point, so there was this guy a long time ago, like 5 years ago, and I was like viewing the YouTube channel, and this guy was presenting in Las Vegas. I think it was in Las Vegas. So he is a professional trader, and he essentially is a penny stock trader. And so what he did was, I believe what he did was he was shorting. He was shorting this company, and he shorted, but the company started going up. Then he shorted more, and he's now, mind you, this is a professional trader, and he's like presenting to everybody, and he kept talking about it. He says that, then he says, okay, then the loss became bigger, and so he started adding on to it, shorting more. And then he saw his account erase all the gains that he had. And then he was at a point where he was like, he was about to lose everything, but he just kept on holding and holding and holding, and at a point where he completely lost everything, then he closed it. Okay, with pennies on the dollar, he saved pennies on the dollar, and he got out. Okay, so his main point, his so this is like 5 years ago, and the video was way a long time ago. And what he now, he's a professional trader, and so even a professional trader will make a mistake. There will be instances where, psychologically speaking, something could happen. Like, I could be driving, and I would be making a left turn, and I would get into middle of the road so that I can make a left turn. But this car in back of me is speeding up to just overtake me, and that could cause. And then the car would stop as soon as I entered, and then it would cause the jarring and the psychological tilt to occur, to cause me to be in an altered state. If I was profitable, then that could alter the way that I trade for that day. Okay, that's so even professionals do that. So they keep adding and adding, adding, thinking that, well, it worked before. Okay, it worked before, right? Because the fall in many instances, 8 out of 10 times will be small, and then it'll revert back. But those 2 times when it passes through, it will be so significant that it would essentially. So there's this professor trader, and she talked about this, and she made this comment. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think is going to happen if you don't use a stop loss, right? What do you think is going to happen if you don't use a stop loss? I don't know. I have no imagination. I don't have the experience. I don't know specifically when a stop loss is not used to the fullest extent of how many years of loss of time and life that occurs. But not using a stop loss causes me to waste 5 years of life. Somebody just passed away at age 53. I'm 56 years old. Okay. So whole life can end within any day. Okay. That's how important a stop loss is. It just never occurred to me. So I was at Costco, and so they're drumming up new business, because the membership of executive membership and a regular membership is double. But what happens is that if you have an executive membership, you tend to spend more trying to get that extra money, extra percent, because you get a rebate. The more money you spend, you get your money back. Okay, but you have to spend more. Okay, you have to spend more. That's the hook, and they're trying to sell that. So for people who are spending thousands and thousands of dollars, it makes sense to have an executive membership. But for me, I'm a homeless man living out of a car. It doesn't make any sense. I go to Costco to buy water, two of them, okay, 35 count, 70 of them for $6. Okay, I go there to buy that for $6. Okay, that's how I spend. So it makes absolutely no sense for me to buy the executive to buy this membership for executive membership. Okay, that in itself in life is the magic carpet. Okay, it is a magic carpet. Okay, I never realized this. People see this is the distinction. That's the turning point. I believe this is the turning point between being profitable and unprofitable. At least what this will do is it buys me time until I get to the point. But if I use the demo account, it really doesn't matter. But even the demo account, it's wasting my time. Okay, it's wasting my time because the goal is to achieve from point A to point B. So even on a demo account, it does matter because the expenditure of time, my lifetime, is being wasted if I don't ride on that magic carpet. I have to have that magic carpet underneath me as a security so that I can continue on this journey. If I don't do that, then time will keep passing. Okay, that is why this guy on YouTube is talking about. Okay, so if you're ever going, so you have to. So there's a lot of people who talk about this. You have to be a masterful. You have to be a master of a stop loss in order to become profitable in trading. You have to. You have to be. And still people won't believe it. People won't know. Okay? This kind of material was on YouTube 5 years ago. Okay? This material, this particular video, okay, was on YouTube. People say that, but they say it casually, but it doesn't because they don't there's no gravity to this situation. People haven't walked in their shoes. People have not lived through that situation. It's like somebody it's like somebody who's never gone through a divorce, and you say, hey, I went through a divorce. They just don't know. They don't see the full impact of what happens. They haven't lost somebody's life. They haven't lost a very so it's like Nancy Guthrie, right? She's been kidnapped. Her daughter knows. Okay, her daughter knows the excruciating the torment. It's a psychological. It is a emotionally catastrophic event that occurs because for me, I lost my mother too. She passed away. Okay, but it is an excruciatingly painful process. It is. Okay, it's an excruciatingly. But people who have not experienced it have no clue. Okay, because they could call them up and say, "Oh, hey, they're still alive. Their parents are still alive." Okay, but in reality, okay, so you just don't know the importance of a stop loss. You just don't know. I didn't know. I didn't, even though I was losing, I didn't know. So I was watching this chat with traders, and this guy who used to be a software engineer, he was doing some work for this guy who was a trader, was writing software to help this guy automate things, okay? And so he got into trading, but what he did was he traded for about 8 years, and he was losing every year for 8 years. And it was a donation to the market. He was donating to the market, okay? And it just never occurred to him. Okay, it never occurred to him that it was because he can afford it. He can afford it, so it never occurred to him. So he kept losing for 8 years. And then finally, after 8 years, he goes, hey, why am I giving money away? Okay, then he finally figured it out. But until somebody says it, I can see that now because I've experienced it. Okay, this is actually for me. But for somebody who's just like me, who really couldn't figure out what's going on. Okay, this is also for somebody who just could not figure this out. Okay, so now I'm about to enter in trade. I can see it. It's exhibiting some characteristics that are favorable to me. Okay, it is showing signs that it is making its move, and I believe my conclusion is correct. Let's see. Okay, so it broke out. This is actually a breakout trade. So break and retest. Now it's above, and if it holds, that means that it's going to go to the next resistance. Okay. So 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 essentially, a stop loss is a magic carpet, and I am Aladdin. Okay, I never imagined that I'm able to allow myself to be a character of a children's story, and it is essentially the market is the genie. Okay, and whatever I wish for, the genie will provide, financially speaking. And in like terms, I am Aladdin. Okay? I am Aladdin. Okay? Taking on this journey, walking on a tightrope between Kilimanjaro to Everest. And then what is supporting my safety and continuous journey is the magic carpet. And that magic carpet has also those people who are around me. The job that I'm doing right now as a prep cook that is allowing me to afford this office. And this office, they know that I'm unemployed. They know that I'm homeless. I live out of my car, but they're out of their goodness that I'm still here. Okay, and and uh, and my health. All these things are the magic carpet. It's the magic carpet that's supporting my continuous development. See, even the dealership. Okay, so I mean, what they'll do is they'll see I have a plastic hubcap, and so what they'll do is they'll twist it, or they won't even lock it in all the way, and so I could it could just fall right off, and so practically every time that I get my car serviced there, oil change, I can't afford anything else. Okay, my brakes will be gone soon, but I need to get that taken care of too. But what happens is that they'll tilt it, and so air nozzles here, and then the plastic hubcap will be slightly off so it can't close together, right? So it can just fall off. They do that. Okay, they must have hired somebody who's really green to do those things because the hard and very difficult mechanical issues you have these experienced technicians who are essentially there to spread wisdom throughout all their experience, the years of experience, right? Because they worked around cars. Now it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot easier for them because it's an electric vehicle. All you have to do is figure out how many windings there are and the power ratio calculations of how that works and what the front and back two dual motors do and things like that, right? So essentially, essentially for me, the turning point has been reached. I was trying to figure out what this turning point could be. What would cause me to be at a point where it's turning point? But now I see the crux, the core problem with my trading is this. Not using the stop loss has always been the issue. The complement, the 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 addition to that is making sure that I have a solid setup that I use. Once I have those two things integrated into my trading, solid setup with a stop loss, then these two things will help me move towards Everest. Okay, I can use stop loss all the time, but I'll keep losing if I don't have my setups right. So in order to steer the forward momentum is to have the setup that is statistically positive, and then just in case it doesn't, then I have the stop loss that allows me to continue using something else to survive that one trade that could it literally cause me to just fall all the way down to the bottom. Okay, the lowest point of the distance, the path between where the tightrope is spanned between Kilimanjaro and Everest. Okay, because trading is essentially taking that rope, taking that distance. I can make a big trade, and it could just go either way, but statistically, the idea is to steer it in the direction of positive gains each and every day. Right? It never occurred to me. I could not. I could not. I could not fully comprehend. I could not fully comprehend what a stop loss is in trading. Okay, people said it's so important. It's so important, but it just never registered. Even though I was losing and losing and losing, and years would go by, but I still could not understand the significance of a stop loss. Okay, I would hear people like who are professional traders. They would give like they would give like they would give like speeches at a convention of among professionals, and I would listen to it, but it never registered me. I could never fathom it. And then somehow, now that I've elaborated on the significance of what my journey is, and how that plays into, and how it's so significant in my trading, now I can stitch it together and figure out why it's so important. Okay, why is it so important? Okay, why is the magic carpet so important? Okay, it is so important. It is so important. It's like, okay, so if I'm married to a woman, okay, and I'm thinking about this, how would I want to be treated? Okay, do I want to be cherished and loved and looked after? Okay, that's obvious. That's a given. But it's because I was so stupid. I was so dumb. I didn't know. It never occurred to me. It was out of my mind. See, I believe what happens is when women chooses men, they look for that. They look for that particular characteristics of somebody who cares about somebody. But 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 there are two types of people: people who mimic, and people who know. People who know will be consistent, but people who mimic won't be consistent because it doesn't match up. It doesn't stick. It doesn't work together. Okay. But until somebody knows like where the turning point is, then it'll be mimicry. Okay, it's a mimicry. There's a movie called Mimic, where apparently it's not a cockroach. It's some sort of an insect that was made, and this insect is able to eradicate cockroaches because they're able to mimic something. And then, but it turns out it's a movie, and what it does is this creature that was created by man mimics mankind, and then it starts to like murder people. Okay, that's how crazy it is, right? So I can see how I can now see. It's like I was walking around streets, going to stores and things like that. That's why essentially is um so it's like it's people who have impulsivity, and I made a YouTube video about what an impulsivity is. Impulsivity occurs because I don't know the significance. I don't know the significance and the importance of money. That's why there's impulsivity. When I am taking impulsive behaviors that undermines my health, then I don't know the importance of my life or health. That's why I do that. Because I don't know. Because I've been mimicking because I didn't know. People say it, but I never fully comprehended the importance of something. That's why it does that. The difference between the turning point is this. The turning point is this. There's a thing called fake it till you make it, is essentially mimicking, but you don't know. You don't know. Somebody who is completely aware of it will say, hey, that person isn't fit together. It doesn't. So it's just like when I was like RCIA, when I was becoming a Catholic, there was this one Catholic who was very, very, I mean, he did not believe that I was a Catholic, okay? He did, for years he would not. I graduated from RCIA, and then I was living life for many years, but he still would not believe that I was a Catholic because he was so critical of what made somebody a Catholic, because he is a Catholic. He knows the people who are mimicking and the people who are truly are. Okay, people who are mimicking and people who really are, there's a clear distinction, because not everything fits in together, because somebody who knows. Okay, somebody who is a Catholic, but somebody who's mimicking really isn't a Catholic. They say they are, they have a label that they are, but they really are not yet, because they haven't fully, they don't know. Okay? They don't know. But many people know. what many people really know this because it takes time. It takes time. It takes a great amount of self enrichment within that environment to become. Okay, that's the turning point. That is the turning point. The turning point is knowing, transitioning from mimicry to knowing. Turning point is changing from mimicry to being. Okay, I'm just like, this is amazing. This is essentially a life awakening experience for me, and I'm being completely honest. I'm completely 100%. It's trading is allowing me to understand my faith as a Catholic. It's like mind blowing. Poo, 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 poo. Oh my God! It's like trading. See, I read the Bible from cover to cover 9 times. Okay, I did. I read the Bible from cover to cover 9 times, twice in jail. Okay, I was in jail for 30 days as part of this felony plea, right? And it took me 15 days to read like 1,500 pages, every word. Okay, then after I read it, I had 15 days left, so I read it again. Okay, so I read it twice, cover to cover, but it never occurred to me. It never occurred to me, okay? Because I was mimicking, because I was reading it, because I didn't understand. I didn't know. Turning the point literally means transitioning from mimicry to knowing. That's the turning point. And then for me, in in understanding what trading really is about, having those two things, having a positive setup that has a positive statistical probability. The second part is having the stop loss, always using that stop loss to mitigate any time the setup is incorrect, because it is a statistical probability. Whoa! It's like fireworks. It's like 4th of July. It's popping. It's because once you turn the corner, the hair will stand up on your head, and you get little goosebumps. Okay? You get little goosebumps because the idea of turning the point is being a mimicry. That's what little kids do when they grow up. They even cats, they'll mimic humanity, but they don't know. They don't know. Okay, they mimic human beings. They don't know until they know. Knowing is that corner. Once you turn that corner, you know. Okay? So essentially, it's now that I see it, it's like, how could I not know? How could I not know about these things? Why would I not know about these things? Why? Okay? It was so simple, but I still didn't know. Okay? A stop loss, there are two primary components. I mean, there's a lot of twos around, okay? I was fired on February 2nd from Micron, okay? 2-2, okay? Now 2-2s are so important, okay? So when price moves when price moves in price action, what it does, it's either pullback or reversal. That's all it is. It's a connection of reversal. It's a connection of pullbacks that makes a trend. But a reversal will alter the path, either steer it inversely, okay, or it's going to change its course to a range-bound situation. Three things will happen when it trends down with a pullback. It will be another pullback that continues, or it's going to be a reversal that changes it into a range, or it's going to be a reversal that causes a major trend reversal that causes pullbacks to occur. Essentially, the path to price action from Kilimanjaro to Everest is essentially, it's oh my God, everything is tying together. Think about this. Price moves just like that. So even the profits move that way. Even the profit, right? I take 3 steps forward, 1 step back. That's how trend works. trend of my P&L is exactly the same as the market price action. Okay? That's what a trend is. But what happens is, sure, it happens for a period of time, but what it is, you reverse. Okay, the market will reverse and dump. So I gotta switch. Okay? This is profound. This is the awakening. It's like, this is, I don't know if I should post this. I don't know. Because this is so valuable. But it's already out there. But it's helping me to fill the gap. It's already out there. All this information is out there. But they put it at such a high level that is a summary of something that is so important. But they summarize it. They put it out there. Okay? So there's this another young trader, and she says this. Okay, she was asked this question. So how do I control my emotion? Okay, then she replied this. She says, "Well, you just have to go through it, and then you just have to go through it as long as possible, and then one day it just doesn't." It's true. She's right. Because that's where the turning point is. That's where the turning the corner is. Okay? So it is a magic carpet. Stop loss is a magic carpet. That's the component that I was missing in my trading, that was undermining my trading. Okay? While I was developing my setup, discovering my setups, as I was honing and perfecting my setups, which took a lot of years, okay? 5 years, a little more 5 years. And then the complement that is, just in case that statistical probability kicks in, I need to make sure that I have a safety feature that allows me to keep going. Okay, that's the complement. These are the two. It's like a marriage. It's like a perfect marriage of trading. Okay, it's a marriage. Okay, you cannot do this alone. Without a stop loss, this will fail. Okay. You cannot have a kid. That's why there's 8 billion people on Earth, because people know it by mimicry. They don't know, but you have to have the X chromosome and a Y chromosome, okay, in order to have 8 billion people who are warming up the planet. Okay, that's why there's less icebergs on Earth, because people consume. They drive vehicles that heat up the earth, okay? They convert sunlight into heat, okay? And there's 8 billion heaters out there, because our body temperature is about 98 degrees, right? And so there's 8 billion people walking around chopping down trees and they're burning it. Okay, there's YouTube channels where people are like, they call themselves like outdoor people. And what they'll do is they'll go into Alaska and they'll chop down like 50 trees out of 100 trees that are out there, right? And they burn it, okay? They burn it down, okay? One person is burning down half the trees in Canada, okay? That's where the global warming occurs. You have people driving around in vehicles, not just one, but 8 billion vehicles, just churning out heat, spreading it everywhere. Of course it's going to melt, okay? That's what's going to happen. It's a closed system. Okay? It's going to melt because you have like fossil fuels that are being churned out. 8 billion people with 8 billion cars. Some people have 2 cars. Some people have 3 cars. It's burning. It's like heating up the planet. It's melting all the ice. It's warming up the ocean. Okay? It happens. You have 8 billion people, and then in about 10 years, it's going to be 16 billion people. It's going to be a cataclysm of fire epic proportions. It's going to flame up. The oceans will dry up. Okay. So when you read the Bible, the last book is called Revelation. It's called the Book of Revelation, okay? It's chaos, outer chaos. You have fire-fueled brimstones and lavas and earthquakes and all this thing. And then like the ocean the plate will collide and cook and everything. It's not like you're going to have like 16 billion people who are like scrambling to figure out the price of corn, okay? The price of a hot dog will be $500, okay? And a house will be $10 million. The cheapest house will be 10 million, but that's what happens when you have. See, that's what happens when you have influx of people coming into America, and you have like, you have like 100 million people just rushing in, less than a year. Okay, what we'll do is that there's limited amount of houses, and so the only thing that will result is increasing the house. The price of a house will increase. That's what happens. You have overpopulation because we're animals. We don't know. We cannot think through it. Just like me, not knowing what a magic carpet is and stop loss, because people don't know. They just God created them to do something, and they're doing it because it has been programmed into the DNA, and they do that. It's a cataclysmic event that will occur. Each country trying to survive for itself, and then you have these Chinese people who are going around the world catching all the fish so they can bring it back to China, right? It's a book of revolution of all these things, the cataclysmic things. The trees will be burnt, there will be ashes everywhere, the house prices will be 10 million bucks and things like that, and poverty will reach out through across the world, okay? And only a handful will have all the money, okay? And they will be living high on the hog because you will need $1 trillion to live a comfortable life at that point. When you have 32 billion people living on Earth, and each person has a car that is consuming all the fossil fuels to heat up the Earth. Okay, that's what's happening. So the turning point is, I didn't know this, but now I do. Okay, but I'll say this to you. If you're lucky enough to listen to this point, you are extremely lucky if you didn't know this, because this is the turning point. Turning point, I couldn't describe it perfectly because I never thought about this, but turning point is this. Turning point is transitioning from mimicry to knowing. That is the turning point. And turning point, there are two things in trading. Okay? There is the setup, which is prone to statistical probability. And what props up this legitimacy is the stop loss. The stop loss, it's like okay, so mankind built this enormous dam to hold trillions of gallons of water, and it generates electricity. But there's 3 or 4 holes, and the stop loss is plugging that up. Okay, even though the structure is massive, you have these people who engineered it, placed the dam right on top of a bedrock of solid that will last for thousands of years. Okay, but because there are holes, it has holes. That is the statistical probability of this situation. There are certain things, even though there's like iron beams that are supporting it internally, there is that possibility of earthquakes that's occurring. When that earthquake occurs, no matter how strong it is, the plate tectonics will eradicate it, however big it is. The stop loss essentially is something that will plug it up, okay, to protect the houses downstream, okay? Essentially, the complement of a setup which is prone to a statistical probability, okay? The finest setup will not work all the time. That's why a stop loss is required to prop up the legitimacy of traveling between Kilimanjaro to Everest. Okay? We're not a Tomahawk missile. We don't follow the terrain. I don't follow the terrain. I follow the line, the tightrope that spans from Kilimanjaro to Everest. And that magic carpet is always underneath to prop up the legitimacy of this profession called living a life of a trader. Okay? This is so fantastic. You are so lucky. By the way, in Boise, there is a hydroelectric dam. in Boise. It's called Lucky Peak. Okay, Lucky Peak. It's called a Lucky Peak Reservoir. Okay, because it's propped up by a dam, and it's called Lucky Peak Reservoir. Okay, and then it says on the front, I think it says "Keep it green." Wow. And what I can say to you is, you're lucky. Okay, it's called the magic carpet. It's something that has. It's like walking around. It's amazing. It's psychologically speaking. If you're like if you're depressed all the time, there's something missing. There's something missing that is altering your thinking, your the way that you carry yourself. Okay, or something is missing, but that the stop loss plugs it up. Okay, so that you don't reach below a certain point. You don't cross it. You cannot cross it. It is the support. It's an incredibly resilient support that provides a location where I can step down and then get right back on that tightrope between Kilimanjaro to the Everest. Wow! I need to post this.